ideas and refresh and bring them forward so that we can have a much more robust and effective strategy, whether it's in recruitment, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in building partnerships. For those who are joining us for the first time today, welcome. And a few words about us at ACEI. We were founded in 1994, and I was just telling my colleagues that next month we'll be celebrating our 27th year anniversary. So thank you. Thanks to everybody who's been with us all these years and for your continued support. A few housekeeping reminders. This presentation will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be made available as well as the PowerPoint slides within 24 hours. During the presentation, our attendees will be placed on mute, but we do encourage you to type in your questions in the chat box, and during our Q&A portion of the presentation, we will address them. Our webinar today will focus on how do we rebound after what has been for many a brutally challenging 2020 with an unpredictable future ahead. As was expressed in our webinar presentation last month on zooming in on armchair recruitment, our presenter, Dimitri Satsuk, who is Director of Admissions at Manhattan College and also Senior Credential Consultant to ACEI, said the following: if you think of a worst case scenario for international admissions industry in the United States, fall 2020 semester would have to be the new gold standard. The impact of COVID-19 on our profession has been far larger than most of us could have imagined. Colleagues have been laid off in downsizing moves by financially strapped institutions. Others have been furloughed, while many still face an uncertain future. This academic year is proving to be the most disrupted since World War II emptied college campuses. Barely a fraction of most colleges' incoming international student class was able to begin studies in person. So how do we rebound? Last month we examined armchair recruitment. Today we're looking at how to tune and fine-tune your branding and marketing to address these new needs in higher ed. With the new administration comes new opportunities to reach our audience. And who better than Laura Sipple, our presenter for today's webinar. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Laura, who's president of Laura Sipple Dynamic Consulting. She has more than 25 years of experience in marketing, and she's been recognized for her expertise in social media marketing, identifying trends, setting marketing strategies, and providing all sorts of wonderful ideas in building partnerships with the audience that we're working with. Of course, she's served on several committees for NAFSA. She's the recipient of the NAFSA Region 5 Award for Excellence, and she currently serves as Director of Marketing for the nonprofit professional association, the Association of International Credential Evaluators, and she's also a member of ACEI's global consulting team that deals with media and brand consulting. So without further ado, I am going to pass the mic over to Laura. I will go off mic and video and let Laura take us on a journey on how to reshape, rebrand our message. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hello, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jasmine. Today, I'm going to go through a series of challenges, tactics. We're going to examine the current situation. And please, if you anything during the time, if you want me to go back a slide, or if you want me to repeat anything, or if you have a question in the middle of the webinar, please do not hesitate to ask. So as Jasmine so eloquently described, Dimitri really did a great webinar on zooming in on armchair recruiting. And this is from Dimitri's slide. And I wanted to include this to show that recruiting, marketing, all of these initiatives are all intertwined. So let's read this slide together. A decline in international student enrollments in the United States will force institutions to revise international student enrollment management strategies, but they will take time to rebuild, most likely several years, the NAFSA report states. And I wanted this slide to set the stage for today's presentation because this doesn't show the gloom and doom that we had in 2020. As Jasmine indicated, 2020 was quite a banner year in uncertainty, unpredictable situations, and even, uncertainty about people's positions and what to do moving forward. What I like about this quote, it says, it will take time, but you need to revise. So what I'm going to be looking at today is what is your current marketing strategy, how you can help it move along, and then how you can test it. So with that, I'm going to go to the next slide. And this deals with, I'm sure everybody realized with the new administration comes new opportunities. Considering 2020 was a little bit of, well, actually the last 4 years were a little bit uncertain for us in international education. So I wanted to focus on Biden's new administration just to see what it will be focusing on in the years to come. The reforms that he's looking at are the Dreamers Protected, the DACA. I know last year that was very tumultuous. People were very worried about what was going to happen with the Dreamers, what was going to happen with the children that are here. And I think with the Dreamers Protected, this is a great sign because it shows that it won't be an uncertain future for those that are here in the United States, which means more people will be more comfortable seeking education here, more people will be comfortable staying here legally and trying to advance themselves. So I think that reform will really adhere to the rules of changing your tactics, changing your message to show people that you are aware of the issues. So in your message, look at the reforms and talk to them because people all over the world are keeping an eye on what Biden and his administration are going to do, including travel ban revocations. That was very difficult. I know coronavirus is very difficult to work with in terms of traveling as well. I also wanted to include the coronavirus that adds a new reform, if to say it a reform, in your marketing plans. People with the coronavirus unrolling may feel more comfortable traveling, more comfortable coming to your institution. So that is a plus for us as well. Protection of the OPT STEM programs, that was very difficult too because OPT was very much on the table last year and admissions officers and universities had to keep a close eye on that situation. Green cards for PhD graduates, that is something that is going to be fostering a new message to people that want to study here, that we welcome you and that you could, if you want to study, we can make it happen that you can come here. And that ties in also with welcoming messages. A couple of years ago when I did a webinar similar to this, I focused on the messages of safety, messages of that your child is safe at the institution. And I think a lot of these welcoming messages emulate the same thing, that COVID safety is a big thing. Welcoming messages that you are aware of the situation of the traveling, that you're aware of the situation of the pandemic, but also that what are you doing to that? So my advice to you is in your messages, make sure that you address the concerns that you would imagine a student would have. And not only welcome from the international office, but you can have welcoming messages from domestic students. Your domestic students are a wonderful, wonderful arena to tap into because they can, diversity and inclusion, and you can really share some great experiences. I'm going to go to the next slide now. And then I'm going to talk about, since we looked at the current situation, I wanted to talk about what challenges we're facing today. I know if I did this seminar about a few months ago, it might be a little bit longer list than 10. But today we are going to be looking at these 10. The first one being COVID-19 restrictions. And going in line as well with COVID-19, I would like to include information about the vaccine. So COVID-19 restrictions are a challenge. COVID-19 vaccines are a challenge because more people want them and more people should get them. It's just a matter of when. The other challenge, number 2, is virtual learning. A lot of universities, and I know a lot of people had to scramble to change their programming to online. And that was very difficult, even on the secondary level of, doing an online platform for this type of learning. One of the challenges also that you need to see is, are you supporting a curriculum that supports virtual learning? Have you thought about, what courses are you offering that would support a virtual learning atmosphere? Number three, the US political climate. We always have some sort of press where somebody, says something in an administration, and then it tumbles and it builds. But what happens is that the messages that you say to people about the political climate here in the US, if you're honest and upfront, that you are welcoming and inclusive, and that you are aware of some of the situations that happen here, or the diversity, or the division of some people here in this country, you're giving people a heads up that you are aware of what's going on. And that also continues with number four, the worldview of the US. I think you could combine those two together to show that your message can show that you are aware of the worldview of the US, but you're also aware of addressing the situation. Kind of like saying, yeah, I know my uncle isn't a nice guy, but I'm a nice person. So, Uncle Sam. Another situation is the political climate worldwide. What could happen is that there is strife and there is refugee situations all over the world that create a challenge for you. I know a lot of my great colleagues, and Jasmine and ACEI did global pathways for refugees, and undocumented students are another big challenge as well. But also the political climate of what's happening with elections in other countries and what's happening in their political strife, and also their economy, what's going on with their economy. I know that a lot of university people look at the global economy and what countries are strong for recruitment. Egypt had a difficult time, and I know countries like India and China are very strong. So keep an eye on that. Number six, in-person instruction should resume. People, have the COVID vaccine. People want to learn in person. Also, there are some curricula that you absolutely need to meet in person. This can be quite challenging, but do not put in-person instruction off the table. And I think the more that 2021 goes on, in the future, in-person instruction will become a little bit more of the norm. But I'm seeing that most people are doing a 50-50 or opting for their students to decide. And that is number seven. Students could opt out to study altogether. Some students are taking a gap year. They're saying it's too unpredictable. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to table it. Now, with this number seven, do not disregard this pool of students. What you can do is look at your data from your rejection pile. Let's say you rejected somebody because of capacity limits, but now you want to up that program or up that curricula. Then you could do your branding to show, hey, we've got this program open again. It's online, no lab work, or nothing that you need to do it in person. That might address the students opting out. Otherwise, I see the economy and the world, international students coming back this year. I just think with COVID and the political strife, it was just way too unpredictable last year. And this leads to number eight, is decreased marketing budgets. I talk to a lot of my colleagues that say they don't have the money, or they don't have the budget to do all of these things, or they don't know what to do or where to start, or where can they get free information. So that's what we're here for, to help you with your decreased marketing budget, to give you tools that you can use, some things that are free. I'm going to go into free marketing hacks. And then also what you can do is look and see where you could put some money, and then also do some things for free. We'll help you with that. Number nine, I mentioned the world economy. We know exactly what that means. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on what's happening around you. This will really help you with your recruitment strategy. You want to recruit in areas where you're going to be successful, where your program is going to be successful. You don't want to recruit in areas where you have a curriculum that does not fit the needs of the people of that country or that region. Another area to look into too is looking at your curriculum if it's designed for workforce success. A lot of people are more interested in what's going to happen with them in the future rather than studying what they like in terms of their interest, but more in terms of a professional goal. And then number 10, last but not least, we all have competition for market share of students. So you have to look at what sets you apart, what makes you great, what do you like to say, what would help you if you are looking into your institution. You know, one of the things that I always say to people is Google yourself, Google your institution, Google what messages you're saying. I attended a really wonderful PI review webinar, and SUNY Buffalo had a really difficult time because they didn't identify themselves with SUNY. They didn't want to lead with SUNY. They wanted to say that we're in Buffalo, we are our own institution. But when they outreach to their students, they said, we Google SUNY. And so they said, okay, we have to stick with branding SUNY before Buffalo. We can't just brand Buffalo. So, you know, to stand out to get the market share of the students, really look and see what your students are looking for. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit with your marketing messages. And goes right into this slide. Things to consider. I know these seem pretty elementary. I know you're saying, Laura, we've talked about long-term and short-term goals. We know what we're doing. We've done this ad nauseum. We know what to do. We don't know what's working. Well, the thing is, what you can do is review, revise, and review. So if you have a current marketing plan that you think is pretty solid, look at it again and see what isn't working. When I'm saying that is, I'm going to go into this in the future, but you can look and see if your marketing email campaigns aren't working, if your messaging on virtual fairs is working, what is your branding? And you can also have a focus group of students look at your branding. You know, if some of you people may have children that are going to college, you could say, hey, what do you think about my institution if you were investigating it? Give it an eye from the outside. Give it a clean eye. Have a neighbor or a colleague look at what you're doing. I do that a lot in my marketing messages. So I make sure that I'm including everything and I don't miss anything. And especially with today's youth being more and more technically savvy, we have to change our messages to address that. And then, you know, you don't have to eat the chocolate pie all at once. You can do short-term and long-term goals. It might be easier to do short-term goals instead of inundating your staff and your team with long-term goals that you feel aren't going to be germane next year, you know, let's say if some laws change. So my advice is do short-term goals that you can get wins. And also identify what is a win for your marketing program. What is a win for your marketing goals? You have to identify the return on your investment. Otherwise, your marketing efforts are all for naught. Seriously, if you don't test and revise and test again, you're not going to be able to figure out what's working. And then lastly, for this slide, how can we leverage this new administration? I'm hearing on the news that more and more refugees and more people are feeling more, and people internationally are feeling more comfortable with this new administration. So this is something that you might want to look into, and also, you know, talking about the new administration reforms. I think somebody overseas or somebody that you know, is an international student might want to know in a nutshell what exactly affects them. I was very grateful to have the information for me available because sometimes the reforms change so much that you don't know what's happening. I know with the Dreamers in DACA last year and with OPT, things were changing on daily basis. Karen Fisher of the Chronicle, she was joking that she can't even keep up with the news. So my advice is make sure that you are current with the current administration and their reforms. Now we're going to go into solutions, and these solutions are my recommendations. These aren't, you know, one size fits all. I don't know your institution. This could even apply to your organization. Let's say you're with a credential evaluation service, or you're with a English language testing service. You can apply these to any situation. The beauty about marketing is once you apply the principles to it, you can apply this to any situation. So I don't want you to think, oh, I work in English language. I'm not in the admissions office, or you know, I'm in a totally different organization. These marketing tips can apply to you. And I gleaned this information from my many years of trial and error, in all honesty, because marketing is malleable. It changes with the trends. It really does, but also it changes with the external trends from students. TikTok, videos, those kind of things really change the landscape for us in terms of marketing. and especially YouTube and, all these other platforms, things are changing rapidly. So stay on top of that. So here I'm going to go into the solutions to these challenges. Now, the first one, it might seem obvious. Yes, we have a marketing package, but is it diversified? And what I mean by that is, are you looking at all sorts of marketing avenues? Sometimes when things don't work, use the old snail mail. Mix it up. If an email campaign isn't doing well, you might want to do something that is ad based, or you might want to do something more globally, like a newsletter or something like a blog. But you can't have one size fits all. So you can look at your marketing package in terms of media, in terms of content, in terms of quality of production. I know some people have budget restrictions where they have to do some of their marketing materials in-house, or they have to rely on students to help with their videos. And I'm expressing media a lot in this webinar because I think online media and webinars and videos are going to be the new trend. Even if it is not now today, I think it's going to be something that we will rely on solely to market and to talk to each other. I mean, if you think about Facebook, people thought Facebook was just a way of reaching out friends, but I use Facebook a lot for my business. And it's incredible how I never realized social media would help me so much. A lot of people say social media doesn't matter. I'm going to do direct email. I'll do recruiting, but I'll ignore that. You have to look at all sides of the marketing package. And then going into your branding tailored to international students. That's a little bit difficult because you can say, I know how to write a great copy. I know how to write compelling brochures. I know how to market my institution. But do you know how to market to international students? Are you using the phrases that they know? A lot of times in our credential evaluation realm, you think of degree or you think of credential evaluation. Well, has anybody thought of grade report? So it's just interesting to think about SEO words or what words are going to resonate with your students. And I recommend on this tapping your international student body or anybody that you know that can help you use the right nomenclatures for these types of information that these students are looking for. You can also, I do this all the time, Google as if you were a student looking at studying at your own institution, or Google the organization that you are at to see what branding messages you're saying right now. A lot of times people think credential evaluation is the only term to understand what transcript evaluation could be. Transcript, grade report, degree, those are all words that mean the same thing to somebody. So think about that. And then this goes also into the rest of the points, but you have to look at your country that you want to recruit. You have to look at the area that you want to target. First of all, you have to do your target market goals to see where you want to target, what programs you want to be successful in that market. Do those programs adhere to that market? Meaning, are students in India going to be wanting to study a heavy liberal arts program, or would they be heavier into STEM? So do your research on the region that you want to recruit. And also, I cannot stress enough that recruiters are very helpful. Recruiters, AIRC, the Association for International Recruitment, they have wonderful certified members. I know that working with recruiters can be controversial, but at the same time, they are sometimes in country. They can help you with the verbiage. They can help you with the message that students want to hear. I cannot stress enough that you have to have it be a country based, because if you don't look at the country where you want to recruit in and you're just doing it for a one size fits all, you could have this wonderful marketing campaign that just does not appeal to anybody in your region that you want to target. Global marketing comes into this, diversity and engagement. Jasmine has a wonderful webinar in April on diversity and engagement, diversity and inclusion. And this is something that has been really risen to the forefront in the last 4 years with the messages with the old administration. A lot of people felt that they may have not been welcome here, but a lot of universities ramped that up and had diversity and inclusion committees, diversity and inclusion, inclusion departments. So this is something that you really need to examine if you don't, or if you haven't already, because diversity and engagement and inclusion is going to be something that will make you successful. A lot of students looking at universities, what I found in surveys, their biggest concern is safety. So if you feel that your campus is diverse, and you can even use your domestic students to show diversity, it might make those students feel a little bit more comfortable studying at your institution. Um, and secondly, how does your brand land? Look at your brand as a whole, not only the logo, but your tagline, your images. What do they say? Are you including people that are diverse? Are you giving welcoming messages? So that is something that you really should look into, because diversity and inclusion is very, very important, and it's going to become more and more of a bigger issue moving forward with our marketing messages. Consistent branding. I have a hard time sometimes when I see a company that doesn't use their logo, or they'll use a different type of logo, or not use their branding colors. And it's something that's simple that you might not think of, but um, you have to make sure that if somebody looks at an email from you or looks at your e-brochure, they know exactly that's your institution. You don't want to have any confusion with another institution. You don't want to have any confusion, if your institution is really the institution. You want to have your email campaigns branded. You want to have your e-signatures branded. You want to have your website to be consistent with your marketing material. You want it all to look cohesive, so somebody that looks at it knows that's your institution. And later, I'm going to show you slides. I'm sorry, I have a link with slides or videos where it's very interesting, because there are 4 different videos, 4 different branding, but they all work. So just make sure your branding is consistent. Even if you want to do a perspective, let's say classical from the historical perspective of your university, or if you want to do something from the perspective of a student, just make sure that it all ties in together. And also make sure that your color scheme is the same. Make sure your logo is always the same. Make sure you put the logo in the same place, just so people can identify it. And another thing also, and I talked about this media, is you can engage through video. Um, Students, as you know, are becoming more and more savvy. Students really know what they're up to, probably more so than most of us in terms of TikTok and these videos. I see a lot of videos that these students put together, and they look really great. But the problem is, you at an institution, you have so many different hats. You have your admissions hat, you have your branding hat, you have your recruiting hat. Um, so video is a great way of showing all of those things. You can show the safety of your campus. You can show how diverse your campus is. You can show what wonderful buildings you have, or you can show your online program strength. And then also you can show your diverse programming. I think what happens is, when video was on the forefront, people were afraid of it because they didn't know how to trust it. Like, oh, somebody can share my video, or somebody can have my video. Well, that's what you want. You want people to be compelled enough to share your information to a friend and say, look at how great this place is. I want to go here. Or look at how fun it looks. It looks like I'd have a great time studying with these people that look like me, or these people that, want to know me. So video really works, but good video works. Make sure your video is up to par. Um, the Global Media Group here, we have a really wonderful um, on-site media company that does high quality media videos. So if you cannot do the videos on your own, I suggest that you have somebody do them, because a poor video is a poor reflection on you. I know a lot of times it's easy just to do a live feed or something like that, or do a video on your own and edit it. But what the problem with that is that the outcome might not be very professional. You spend a lot of time doing it, and then you don't want to use it, or you're ashamed of it because you rushed it, or you didn't do it so great. So my suggestion is to use somebody that does video and media, because it can streamline the process. these people, especially with ACEI, they know what your needs are before you do. Even writing script writing for video is very important. And through ACEI's video, I helped write some scripts and edit them, but it really showed me how important the message is in your videos. So not only the imaging, but make sure your branding, make sure your message. So videos, there's a lot to consider in them, but they are effective. And also make sure that you have a YouTube channel. You know, um, you can do videos and live stream on Instagram. You can also do a live chat room on Facebook. Video is a wonderful way to engage. You can even do a study room. So think about those things. You can even ask your domestic or international students to help you do study rooms and help it tie back to your institution, because then what you do is then you leave this footprint of your institution for your SEO, for your search engine optimization. Artificial intelligence provides excellent data. AI, what you can do, and the engagement rate and what works and what doesn't can give you such excellent data. I'm going to go into A/B testing and messages testing later, but I really want you to look at what's going to be happening digitally. So this goes into our online programming. And with COVID and with everything happening with the pandemic, schools were scrambling to do online programming. It was just really, I just have to commend everybody that worked so quickly to do that. I mean, you guys turned it around in 24 hours. That's pretty incredible. So here is how you can tap into online programming, because online programming is bigger and bigger trend, and it's not going away. And the nice thing about online programming is that you can have institutions all over the world. You can have instructors all over the world. You don't have to have a brick and mortar, but you can also tap non-traditional ways to reach those working in the industry. And what I mean by that is creating partnerships, non-traditional ways of creating partnerships for those that are already in the know, that are already in the institution. Um, I want to say the institutional history of it, that they know what worked and they know what didn't work. So, talking about non-traditional ways of reaching those people would be, doing an online virtual event, doing an online fair, doing a partnership with another organization to show how helpful you are or to show how safe your institution is. There are plenty of partners that you can certainly partner with: English language testing institutions, credential evaluation organizations, online recruitment. Do not disregard anything. Look under anything that you can find to help get your word out there with a partner. I cannot express how much partnerships really can help you. And also, creating great partnerships can also help you learn information about different industries. For instance, I worked with a media program in London, and it was interesting to work with them to see what their process was and what their message was in the UK. So it was just interesting to get a different side of view. And also, this goes right into number 2. Use your broad-based curricula tailored to workforce success. Your online programming, your curriculum should support online programming. Identify the programs that are going to be successful online and promote the heck out of them. And then also promote the programs that are going to help people in the workforce. In my investigation and my research, what I found is that people these days want to have workforce success in their education. They want it to lead to a career. They want it to lead to financial stability or financial um, increasement, but they also want to make sure that they're going to succeed with this program. So one of the things that you can do is in your language, in your branding, you can show people success stories. I did your, engineering program, and look at me now. I'm a senior engineer at this company. You can tap into alumni, tap into parents to show that you can identify what they want to do in terms of the message that they want to hear. And a lot of times in my research, what I found was that workforce, they want to work, they want to be successful in their job. So when they're asking about the educational curriculum, they might say, how does this apply to me and my job? And this goes into identify markets. and focus on the areas, and always get return on investment, looking at what students you want to reach. Do your research and look at what is successful for your institution for online. You cannot promote an online program that will not be successful online. It just won't happen. So that's something to look into. Now we're going into fun free marketing hacks. I really like this because it speaks to what you already have. It speaks to you don't have to spend any money. And it also speaks to they're fun things to do. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to research data. I think I'm in the good position here, but I love to see return on my marketing campaigns. And another great thing too is to examine your own data that you already have in your institution. I'm sure you have done studies and data on recruitment areas and environments on where to look and regions to target. Look at that data again, and also look at your applicant data. um, See where the region that you hit, see where the successful applicants are coming from. And you can also look at former applicants. I think that's one of the greatest tips that I heard, is to look at your former applicant pool to see where your marketing campaigns were successful. So I'm sure if you have a marketing department or some sort of person that does your marketing ROI, they can see our institution increased international students by 5% after that campaign. So do something like that. And this goes into number 3. Look under every rock. I mean, tap everybody in your institution, the professors, the instructors, the students, domestic and international, the interns, anybody that you can ask about branding and about what the institution says to them is invaluable. And believe it or not, you have a lot of data that you don't even know about. Go back and look at your applicant data, your rejection data. See what students want and where they're coming from. And also utilize alumni. Another great video that I looked at from UC Berkeley, they had a wonderful video of an alumni saying how great it was for him to study there and how successful he is now. So make sure that you can utilize alumni, and don't forget parents. Also, don't forget parents in your marketing message. A lot of times you're speaking to the parents. The parents may ultimately, make the decision to pay for the institution. So you need to have the parents on your side. One institution that I investigated said that they did a mixed bag of messages. They did one campaign directly focused towards parents, and then they did another campaign directly targeted to students. And they found that the campaign directed towards parents, with the language of safety, affordability, online success, workforce success, was really wonderful in capturing the parents. But then they also found that the message of diversity and inclusion, welcoming and safety really appealed to the students. So you have these two wonderful markets that you can look at and tailor your message to each one. And when I say consistent branding, you can have different messages for different audiences as long as your logo, your tagline, your colors, and everything is still the same. You can have varying kinds of media for your marketing. Let's say you wanted to do something on a Taco Tuesday, and you can show, students all over the world on a Zoom making tacos or something, or you could do something in an organization's newsletter. You can utilize it no matter how much you want to use it or how little, but I recommend you use it a lot. Your data is there and it's rich and it's waiting to be analyzed. And this is the last one. Analyze under enrolled programs. Look at the programs that aren't doing so great. Look at the branding that didn't work so well, or look at the campaign that kind of flopped, or looked at something that was very successful, and say, how can we market this for future success? How can we tweak this to make it more appealing? Because obviously it was a program that you felt was worthy enough to start. So you can tweak it, make it into something that is more adaptable to online marketing for future success, if that's what you want to go for. A lot of institutions are offering half and half. I think now with the COVID vaccine, that might change. And like I said, with marketing, it changes every day. So it'll be interesting to see what the trends are for online marketing. Online programming versus in person. And then I wanted to just go into briefly other countries' marketing approaches. And if you look at here, different countries, these are large countries receiving international students. You can see what different strategies they use. But I would recommend all of these. But it's just interesting to see what other countries are doing. Here is another thing that I talked about too with platforms. Customer relationship management packages. That is something that you need to use. You cannot do marketing without it. The reason being, this gives you data on what works and what didn't. It gives you data on who clicked on your email, who opened your email, who clicked on your website. It shows what is successful and what isn't. And looking at the second item, A/B testing. What A/B testing is you have a subject line and you can test to see if that's successful. You have a subject line and you can send it to your audience, and the CRM package will test it to see how many people open it. And then what the CRM package says, hey, let's try a little A/B testing. Give me the B, the other alternative subject heading, and let's see if that works. So what they do is they compare each subject line to your campaign to see if it works, which is fantastic, because how many times have we sent out emails, a mass email or some emails, and said, wow, I really hope that person opened it, or I wonder if they read it, I wonder if they even got it, I wonder if they liked it. A/B testing does that for you. And what it does is it really gives you some wonderful data on what words are working and what subject lines work. Micro surveys are surveys that are 2 seconds to take. 2 or 3 questions, really easy. It's not inundating. If you hurl a long survey at somebody, they might not want it. So micro surveys are surveys that are 2 or 3 questions, very short, very concise, that you can get information. And since it's so small, it's guaranteed people will finish them. The last Pi review communication, the webinar I received, I was at, the communication they gave was the CRM package recommended with Slate. They went through other different ones, but a lot of people on the Zoom said Slate was great. On other platforms too, Baidu, WeChat, and also remember, China doesn't use Facebook. So make sure that you know social media platforms in different countries that are working. And there's also companies that you can hire to help you communicate in country as well with your campaign. A lot of them can help you craft your message in a different language as well if you need to. And then lastly, I know that you're thinking about budget and you're saying, I don't know, how much is this going to cost? What do I need to do? Well, what I've learned is 80% go into channels that work. So if you know, paying for, a premium CRM package, paying for a recruiter, paying for a media service, that works, continue with that. And then use the other 20% to research what works and what doesn't work. So, a little trial and error goes a long way. And also, you do have to spend a little bit of money to see what works and what doesn't. But you also have to make sure that you include it in your marketing budget. I know I talked about free hacks, but some of these other things do cost money. So make sure that you do include in your goals for the year or in your goals for your strategy for your position. Make sure you include a budget for your marketing. Make sure you include marketing in your tasks if that's what you need to do. Just make sure that marketing is not lost. If you ask for the budget for the marketing, it won't be a surprise later when you say, oh, we need to pay for this because I need to reach these students. Make sure that you always include all of the tools that you want to in your budget and in your goals. The worst thing is having, a big surprise that you need to, purchase a CRM package and you didn't budget for it. All right. And then, as I talked, social media, create a lot of video content. And in the next few slides, I'm going to give you links for great video, but here's some examples: campus tours, welcome messages, speakers, day in the life, and department focus series. That's really fun to see what different departments do. These are the videos I talked about. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through them, but Columbia University does some of a classical, more of a conservative look. St. Louis, the same, but MIT, student produced. You would think MIT would be a little bit more conservative, but they did it from the view of the student. UC Berkeley was a great view of their campus and how safe it is and how beautiful it is. And then going into digital excellence. Focus on your digital tools and experiences and know that your students are savvy. They know more than you do. So make sure that you are on top of the trends. Make sure that you are leveraging your digital tools to optimize everything that you want to do. And then here's your toolkit. Platforms like Slate, WeChat, Acaro, CMR package. That's what the PI review, the Acaro was on there and they really like that. Social media platforms, A/B test your messages, what subject line works and what doesn't, what engages your audience. Video content brings in your audience. Tap recruiters, tap staff and alumni, and make sure you don't do an arduous survey. Micro surveys work. And then, like I said before, I'm reiterating, tailor your curricula for success. You cannot have an online program that is not tailored to be online to succeed. Consistent messaging and test, test, test. Make sure you're getting the best investment on your return for your efforts. And then I wanted to look at partnerships. Partnerships are invaluable. Global communications via platform is key as well. Make sure you're speaking the language and make sure your partner is the best for your brand. Partner doesn't have to be an institution. It can be a credential evaluation organization. It can be a credential evaluation service. It can be an English language service. It can be anything that relates to your brand. And also tap data from your staff. Your staff have all this great information from their students, and they also know what works and what doesn't. And then another thing is, again, alumni. Alumni stories work. Positive stories work. It's testimonial, and you have it right at your fingertips. So these are great things for partner, staff, and alumni. And then I wanted to talk about how we can help you. You say, Laura, you had some really great points, but how do I apply these? Well, the thing is, it doesn't have to be the big chocolate pie. ACI can help you. We are experts. We do this all the time. We live and breathe international students. We know the SEO, we know the language, we know the verbiage, we know what branding would work for your organization. And also, I'm very impressed with the media group that we have here, the quality of the video. And the nice thing is, it doesn't have to take long to produce. We have a script, we have the video, we have the imagery, and it's not a huge task to overtake. And also, next month, as Jasmine said, is our anniversary. We have more than 40 years in applied higher education. Not me alone, but everybody else has probably more than 100 years of experience in this field. And lastly, ACI knows your audience. We know who you talk to. We know who you want to reach because they come to us. We know what works for us in terms of marketing to international students. So what we can do is have a fresh eye looking at your institution. We can do an audit of what you're doing currently and what works and what doesn't. And then we can also do recommendations for success for verbiage moving forward. I know I'm partial, but I really think ACI is pretty great, and I really think we can have some great things to help you out. And then these are the resources. Like I said, the PI webinar series was really great. Marty Bennett had a webinar that was really, really successful too. So you'll get these slides, you'll have these, so you can see that. The ACI blog, I suggest you sign up for it. It has such great information all the time, and we have fresh new content every Friday. So we have some time for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Laura. Yes. Wow. I'm so excited and inspired by your, just your insights and how you see us moving forward. I've always, valued your optimism. You kind of echo my feelings as, where there's a problem, there's a solution. And we treat it as a puzzle. So we always try to find a way around the problems and challenges. This was really great tips you shared. You've just brightened my day, and I'm excited to employ some of these even in our own uh, marketing and promotional strategies. Looking for questions. There's a couple that I had, and while if our attendees don't have any, maybe this will inspire them to come up with some questions for you. One I have is, given budgetary restrictions, what do you see as the most cost-effective approach an institution can employ right off the bat?
Great question, Jasmine. Thank you. I think one of the cost-effective things that they can do is create partnerships. That is invaluable because you can do co-marketing experiences where you can have each other or as many partners as you want help each other in finding the audiences, finding the language, and partnerships. They're just so underwhelmed. I can't stress how important they are. So I would say partnerships are key. And another tip too, like I said before, is look outside your arena. You know, we partnered, with other companies that don't work with credential evaluation, but at the same time, they want to show that they are keen to credential evaluation. So look outside your branding field to see, oh, wait, we may want to partner with a credential evaluation service.
I definitely see the opportunities there, because something that I was thinking was that, for example, coming up in May, I believe we are holding a webinar where we will be targeting international students and helping them how to select a U.S. institution that fits their profile. This is a great opportunity for anyone on this webinar, if they're interested, to offer themselves as a partner of this program. We could promote them, maybe do a very nominal sponsorship, but I think there are ways that we could all work together and showcase each other's strengths. Thank you. Well, there's a question here, and it's the question is, what would be the biggest challenge facing admissions offices this year?
Well, thank you for that question. And also we have another question too, and I wanted to tie these two together because Julie wrote, countries are huge. How do I narrow down the target audience I'm trying to find? And I think it goes into the challenge. This is a good challenge because how do you know what market you're looking into? I mean, like I said, it's a big chocolate pie. Where do you want to go into? And what I said before is look at what programs are working, what programs would work in that country. Look at what students in that country or region that fits your needs. So let's say you want to go solely online, do your research to see what countries like solely online institutions, and or look at what countries fit your profile the best. I think that's the best way to look at your audience. And that's a big challenge because I think a lot of people in offices say, we need to increase international students by 10%, do it. And you don't know how to do it. So the biggest challenge I see is identifying your audience, but look to see what matches your programs. Look to see what matches your curricula. Look to see what matches your institution. And if you market to those people, you will succeed. IEE Open Doors has a really great data on student traveling to institutions, student growth, student study. I would highly recommend IIE Open Doors as resources for research. They have it broken down by region, year, area of study. And so if you want to promote a program, look to see if it fits in what region.
That's a very good suggestion, and something that just came to mind. We did a couple of webinars a year ago, and links to those are also available on our website, and it's on emerging markets. We touched on Colombia. Thank you. But these are upcoming. These are previous ones we've done, and the recordings are on our website. I think if you go to this, the link on this page, on the slide.
Presentations right here.
You will find that we have, I think Indonesia was one, Colombia was one. So there are countries that you could literally, zone in and zoom
Yes.
in and, really focus on that. You don't, and my recommendation is look outside of the box. Don't look at the traditional regions that everyone has been focused in. There are several other countries that are so eager to
Mhm.
invest in having their students study overseas. Several Latin American countries look to the US as their first choice.
Yeah.
So anyway, please take advantage of some of our previous
Yes.
programmed webinars. Thanks for that.
Yeah. And then here is our contact information.
Yes, yes. And within about 24 hours, a recording of this presentation will be made available. We have about 2 minutes left, Laura, and there's one other question. What is the biggest trend to adopt this year?
As I touched on the last point, the biggest trend I see is digital excellence. I see people all over the world becoming more and more savvy in terms of media, making their own videos, doing more engagement via videos. I mean, think about TikTok, how that just blew up. And now it's just, normal to make a video every day, TikTok style. I think that's going to be a huge trend, especially with the pandemic and especially with travel restrictions. We're relying more on digital tools more than ever. So I see that being a big tool, and I see video and media being a really big trend for reaching your target audience. I see that increasing exponentially.
I agree with you on that. I see that that's what our in-house media team has been
Yeah.
developing. We do a lot of very, very short because people's attention spans, unfortunately, aren't what they used to be. And we try to mix it up with more imagery and closed caption messaging. People like to see the written word as well as hearing it and see the moving images, and keeping it all under a minute.
Yeah.
Really short, but capture as much as you can just to get the person's interest, and then they can go to the next step to learn more about you. Well, thank you so much. Who knew an hour can fly this
I
quickly?
know. I enjoyed it so much. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
including me. This was so
Thank you. It's
fantastic.
always a pleasure to have you, Laura, and your experience and expertise and just your wonderful personality.
Thank
It
you.
brings a lot of light to our day. Thank you to
Hey, good news
everyone
is
who,
coming.
that's
We
right.
have good
And
news.
thank you to everyone who joined us today. Appreciate your support, and I hope you can join us again in the subsequent months with our upcoming webinars. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.